chapter 7.6, and we're going to be solving rational equations. Our first objective is to solve rational equations. A rational equation, also called a fractional equation, is an equation containing one or more rational expressions. The following is an example of a rational equation. 7x minus 4 all over 5x equals 9 over 5 minus 4 over x. Notice the variable in the denominators. This is the characteristics of many rational equations. So the steps for solving rational equations. Step 1, start by listing the restrictions on the variable. Avoid any values of the variable that make a denominator 0. Step 2, you want to clear the fractions by multiplying both sides by the least common denominator of all the rational expressions in the equation. Step 3, you're going to solve the resulting equation. This equation will not contain fractions. And then step 4, reject any proposed solution that is in the list of restrictions on the variable. Check other proposed solutions in the original equation. So let's go in our books to page 544, and we're going to start by looking at number 5. The instructions say solve each rational equation, and for number 5, we have 2 minus 8 over x equals 6. So the first thing we want to do is determine any restrictions on x. So to determine the restrictions on x, you're going to start by setting any denominator not equal to 0. So this is telling us x cannot be equal to 0, so that is a restriction. Now we can move on to find the LCD. So the only denominator we have is x, therefore the LCD is going to be x. So now we're going to multiply each term by x. So 2 times x, that is 2x. And then 8 over x times x. Well, the x's cancel out, leaving us with 8. And then 6 times x is 6x. So our equation is now going to be written as 2x minus 8 equals 6x. And then we're going to solve for our variable x by subtracting 2x on both sides. And we'll get negative 8 equals 4x. And then divide by 4 and divide by 4. And we'll end up with x equaling negative 2. Now, negative 2 was not part of our restriction, so it's okay to say this is our solution. We can further check it by plugging it back in. So we can actually check it by plugging it in for x and seeing if the left side equals the right side. So 2 minus 8 over negative 2. And we want to know, does that equal 6? Well, this is 2 plus 4. Which is 6, and 6 equals 6, so this is our solution. Alright, let's move on to number 11. And now we have 2 over 3x plus 1 over 4 equals 11 over 6x minus 1/3. So first, let's start by writing our restrictions on our variable. Notice that we have an x in our denominator here and an x here. So let's start by setting these not equal to 0. So 3x cannot equal 0, and 6x cannot equal 0. We can divide both sides by 3. And divide both sides by 6, and they'll both end up with the conclusion that x cannot equal 0. So now we can continue by finding our LCD. So the first denominator is 3x, and the factors of 3x are 3 times x. The factors of 4 are 2 times 2, and the factors of 6x is 3 times 2 times x. And then the factors of 3 are just 3. So then the LCD, we're going to start by writing the factors of the first, which is 3 times x. And then let's move on to the second. We're going to put the times 2 since they weren't already there. And then for the third, we already see a 3 there. We already see a 2. And we already have an x. And then for the last one, again, we already have a 3. So this is our LCD, which is going to be 12x. Now we're going to multiply each term by our 12x. So we're going to have 2 over 3x times 12x. The x's cancel. The 3 simplifies out to be a 1, and the 12 is 4. So now we're going to have 2 times 4, which is 8. Let's multiply 1/4 by 12x. The 4 simplifies to be 1, and the 12 will become a 3. So this is going to become 3x. And then let's do 11 over 6x times 12x. The x's cancel. The 6 will cancel, and the 12 will become a 2. So 11 times 2 is 22. And then the last one is a third. 1/3 times 12x. Well, the 3 will cancel, and the 12 will become a 4. So this is going to become 4x. So now our equation will become 8 plus 3x equals 22 minus 4x. Now we can solve for x. We're going to add 4x on both sides. And subtract 8 on both sides. And this is going to give us 7x equals 14. And then divide both sides by 7. And we have x equals 2. Now 2 was not part of our restrictions, therefore we can say this is our solution. Now let's look at number 13. And we have 6 over x plus 3 equals 4 over x minus 3. Let's start by listing our restrictions. So we're going to set our denominators not equal to 0, so x plus 3 cannot equal 0, and x minus 3 cannot equal 0. Solve for x, and we get that x cannot equal negative 3, and also x cannot equal positive 3. So now we can move on to our LCD. And the LCD, since we only have two denominators, x plus 3 and x minus 3, and these are not the same, it's going to be x plus 3 times x minus 3. So we're going to multiply each term by the LCD, so 6 over x plus 3 times x plus 3, x minus 3. Well, the x plus 3's cancel out, and this is going to become 6 times x minus 3. And then we can do the next term, which is 4 over x minus 3 times x plus 3, x minus 3. The x minus 3 cancels out, and we're going to be left with 4 times x plus 3. So our equation will become 6 times x minus 3 equals 4 times x plus 3. Now let's go ahead and distribute the 6 and the 4. And we're going to end up with 6x minus 18 equals 4x plus 12. Let's solve for x. We can subtract 4x on both sides. And we'll get 2x minus 18 equals 12. And then add 18. And we have 2x equals 30. Divide both sides by 2. and we have x equals 15. 15 was not part of our list of restrictions, therefore the solution is x equals 15. And again, you can check it by plugging it back into the original equation, and you'll see that the left side equals the right side. Number 25, we have x minus 4 over x equals 15 over x plus 4. Let's start by finding our restrictions on our variables. So set each one of your denominators not equal to 0. So we have x cannot equal 0, and x plus 4 cannot equal 0. This one's already solved for x, so we're saying x cannot equal 0. Let's solve the second one, and we'll have x cannot equal negative 4. So here are our two restrictions on our answer. So now we can move on and find the LCD. So the factors of x are just x, and then the factors of x plus 4 is just x plus 4. So the LCD is going to be x times x plus 4. Then we multiply each term by the LCD. So x minus 4 over x times x plus 4. And then 15 over x plus 4 times x plus 4. The x's cancel in the first, and we're left with x minus 4 times x plus 4. And then for the second, the x plus 4's cancel, and we're left with 15x. So our equation will become x minus 4 times x plus 4, and it's going to be equal to 15x. So now we need to solve for x, so let's go ahead and distribute by foiling. So it's going to be x times x, and then x times 4, and then negative 4 times x, and negative 4 times 4. And that's going to become x squared plus 4x minus 4x minus 16 equals 15x. Let's combine our like terms, and we'll have x squared minus 16 equals 15x. These cancel. And since we have an x squared term, we need to get everything on the same side as our squared term. So subtract 15x on both sides. And we'll end up with x squared minus 15x minus 16 equals 0. So now we're still solving for x, which means now we have to factor. The product is negative 16, and the sum is negative 15. So now you want the factors of negative 16 that'll add and give you negative 15, and they are negative 16 and positive 1. So we can rewrite our equation as x minus 16 times x plus 1, and this will equal 0. Now we can use the zero product principle, which says we set each one of these equal to 0. So x minus 16 equals 0, and x plus 1 equals 0. Solve for x, and we'll end up with the solution that x equals 16 and negative 1. 16 and negative 1 were not part of the restriction, therefore this is our solution. And of course you can check it by taking one at a time and plugging it back into the equation. So 16, then negative 1, and you'll see that the left side equals the right side. Let's look at number 27. And we have 2 over x squared minus 1. And this is going to be equal to 4 over x plus 1. And let us start with our restrictions. So let's set each denominator equal to 0, so not equal to 0. So x squared minus 1 cannot equal 0, and x plus 1 cannot equal 0. Now, in order to solve the first equation, we need to factor. This is the difference of two squares, so we're going to say x minus 1 times x plus 1 cannot equal 0. And for the second one, we can just solve for x by subtracting 1 on both sides, and we'll get x cannot equal negative 1. Now we can go back to the first. Using the zero product principle again, we can say x minus 1 cannot equal 0, and x plus 1 cannot equal 0. So this is saying x cannot equal negative 1, the same as this. And this one is saying x cannot equal 1. So these are our restrictions on our variable. Now let's continue the problem by finding the LCD. Well, the factors of x squared minus 1 is just x minus 1 times x plus 1. And then the factors of x plus 1 is just x plus 1. So now we can find our LCD by writing the factors of the first denominator. So that's x minus 1 times x plus 1. And then we go on to the second. However, x plus 1 is already there, so we do not write him. So this is just our LCD, x minus 1 times x plus 1. So now let's multiply each term by it. So 2 over x squared minus 1 times x minus 1, x plus 1. Well, x squared minus 1 is the same as saying x minus 1 times x plus 1, so they all cancel out, leaving us with 2. And then 4 over x plus 1 times the LCD. This time our x plus 1's cancel out, leaving us with 4 times x minus 1. So our equation becomes 2 equals 4 times x minus 1. And now we can solve for x. So we're going to distribute the 4. And we'll have 2 equals 4x minus 4. Then we'll solve for x by adding 4 on both sides. And we get 6 equals 4x. And then we can divide both sides by 4, divide by 4, and we have x equals 3 over 2. And since 3 over 2 was not part of our restrictions, we can say this is our solution. Number 35. And we have 3y over y minus 4 minus 5 equals 12 over y minus 4. So let's start by finding the restrictions on the variable y. So set each one of your denominators not equal to 0. So we have y minus 4 does not equal 0 or cannot equal 0. Solve for y by adding 4 on both sides, and we're saying y cannot equal 4. So this is a restriction on our answer. Then continue the problem by finding the LCD. Well, our only denominator is y minus 4. Therefore, the LCD is going to be y minus 4. So now we're going to multiply each term by our y minus 4. So 3y over y minus 4 times y minus 4. The y minus 4's cancel, and we're left with 3y. And then 5 times y minus 4. We're going to leave that as 5 times y minus 4 for now. And then 12 over y minus 4 times y minus 4. The y minus 4's cancel, and we're left with 12. So our equation will become 3y minus 5 times y minus 4 equals 12. Let's solve for y. So let's first distribute the negative 5 on the inside. So we have 3y minus 5y plus 20 equals 12. Combine our like terms, and we have negative 2y plus 20 equals 12. Now let's solve for y. So we're going to subtract 20 on both sides. And we have negative 2y equals negative 8. and then divide both sides by -2, and we end up with y equals 4. However, 4 was part of our restriction. Therefore, if y was equal to 4 and we plugged it back in to our original equation, we will have zeros in our denominator. Therefore, y equals 4 cannot be a solution, and we do not have a solution to this problem, so we can write it as no solution, or you can write it in words as no solution. Number 39. And we have x plus 1 over 3x plus 9 plus x over 2x plus 6, and this equals 2 over 4x plus 12. So let's start by finding the restrictions on our variable x. So set each one of your denominators not equal to 0 and solve for x. So 3x plus 9 cannot equal 0. Subtract 9 on both sides, and we have 3x cannot equal -9. And then divide by 3, and we'll have x cannot equal -3. And then the second is 2x plus 6 cannot equal 0. Subtract 6 on both sides, and we have 2x cannot equal -6. Divide by 2, and again we have x cannot equal -3. And then let's do the last one. 4x plus 12 cannot equal 0. So subtract 12, and we have 4x cannot equal -12. And then divide by 4, and we have x, once again, cannot equal -3. So -3 is our restriction. Then let's continue the problem by finding the LCD. So the factors of 3x plus 9, that's going to be 3 times x plus 3. We can factor the 3 out. And then the factors of 2x plus 6, we can factor out the 2, and we'll again have x plus 3. And then the last one was 4x plus 12. We can factor out the 4, and we'll have x plus 3. So then the LCD, we're going to start by writing the factors of the first denominator, which is 3 times x plus 3. And then for the second, the 2 isn't there, so let's write the 2. But the x plus 3 is already there, so we're not going to write it. And then let's keep going, and I made a mistake here. Instead of saying 4, I should say 2 times 2. Now for the third, the first 2 is already there, so we're not going to write it. However, the second 2 isn't there, so let's write it. And then the x plus 3 is already there, so we will not write it. So the LCD is going to be 2 times 2 times 3, which is 12, times x plus 3. So now we're going to multiply every term by the LCD. Let's start with the first term. So we're going to have x plus 1 over 3 times x plus 3 times 12 times x plus 3. The x plus 3's cancel, and the 3 will cancel with 12, making it a 4. So this is going to become 4 times x plus 1. And then the second, x over 2 times x plus 3 times the LCD. The x plus 3's cancel. The 2 will cancel, making the 12 into a 6, and this is going to become 6x. And then for the last one, we have 2 over 4 times x plus 3 multiplied by the LCD. The x plus 3's cancel, and the 4 will cancel with the 12, making it into a 3, and this will become just 6. So now our equation is written as 4 times x plus 1 plus 6x equals 6. distribute the 4 on the inside, and we have 4x plus 4 plus 6x equals 6. Combine our like terms and we'll get 10x plus 4 equals 6. Now we can solve for x by subtracting 4 on both sides, and we'll get 10x equals 2, and then divide both sides by 10, and we have x equals 1 over 5. And since 1 over 5 was not part of our restrictions, it's okay to say this is our solution. You can check it by plugging it in for x, and you'll see that the left side equals the right side. And last one, number 43. Now we have 1 over x minus 4 minus 5 over x plus 2 equals 6 over x squared minus 2x minus 8. Let's start by finding the restrictions on the x. So set each one of your denominators not equal to 0. So x minus 4 cannot equal 0. Add 4 on both sides, and we're going to say x cannot equal 4. And then x plus 2 cannot equal 0. Subtract 2 on both sides, and we're going to say x cannot equal negative 2. And then x squared minus 2x minus 8 cannot equal 0. And in order for us to solve this, we need to factor. So the product is negative 8, and the sum is negative 2. So then the factors of negative 8 that'll add and give us negative 2 are going to be negative 4 and positive 2. So this factors into x minus 4 times x plus 2 cannot equal 0. Use the zero product principle, so set both of them not equal to 0. So x minus 4 cannot equal 0. And we can add 4 on both sides, and we'll get x cannot equal 4. And then the x plus 2 cannot equal 0. Subtract 2 on both sides, and we get x cannot equal negative 2. So our restrictions are x cannot equal 4 and x cannot equal negative 2. So now we can continue the problem by finding the LCD. So the factors of x minus 4 are just x minus 4. And then the factors of x plus 2 are x plus 2. And the factors of x squared minus 2x minus 8, they are x minus 4 times x plus 2. So then we can list our LCD by writing the factors of the first denominator, which is x minus 4, times x plus 2, since it's not already there. Then when we go down to the third denominator, the x minus 4 is already there, as well as the x plus 2. So the LCD is just going to be x minus 4 times x plus 2. So now we're going to multiply each factor, or each term, by the LCD. So 1 over x minus 4 times the LCD. The x minus 4 cancels out, and we're left with just x plus 2. And then 5 over x plus 2 times the LCD. The x plus 2's will cancel out, leaving us with 5 times x minus 4. And then for the last one, we have 6 over x squared minus 2x minus 8. And we're going to multiply this by the LCD. Now remember that x squared minus 2x minus 8 is the same as saying x minus 4 times x plus 2. So they all cancel out, leaving us with 6. And our equation will become x plus 2 minus 5 times x minus 4 equals 6. So then we can distribute the negative 5 on the inside, and we have x plus 2 minus 5x plus 20 equals 6. Combine our like terms together. So we'll have negative 4x plus 22 equals 6. We can subtract 22 on both sides, and we get negative 4x equals negative 16. And then we can divide both sides by negative 4, and we'll end up with x equals 4. However, 4 was part of our restrictions, therefore x cannot equal 4. And this problem doesn't have a solution, so we're going to write no solution, or we can write it in words as no solution. Okay, this will conclude our video for chapter 7.6. Please email me if you have any questions.